Hello everyone, we are Group the Thinkers and today we will present the topic is nuclear energy is the solution to our problems. Imagine waking up one day and finding out that the lights won't turn on, not because of a power outage, but because the world has suddenly run out of affordable clean energies. This scenario is closer to realities than many people think. We will walk you through our analysis of public arguments on both sides of this debate, identifying logical fallacies, refuting quick premise, and making our own reason case for where nuclear energy is fits in our future. Let's begin with the introduction. For the background of the issues, Global Energy 2024 pie chart showing approximately 80% fossil fuels, approximately 10% nuclear, and approximately 10% renewables. The world today faces two convergence crises, climate change and rising energy demand. As of 2024, fossil fuels account for approximately 80% of global energy consumption, and they are responsible for over 70% of global CO2 emission. The consequence, we are living through rising temperatures for more frequent extreme weather season and long-term environmental damage. Nuclear energies can be potential solutions. Nuclear power plants generate electricity through nuclear fission and releasing enormous amounts of energy without direct carbon dioxide emissions. Photo world maps showing reactors around the world. Currently, nuclear power provides about 10% of the world's electricity with 413 operational reactors across 31 countries. France, for example, generates over 20% of its electricity from nuclear source. The question here is why this issue is worth discussing. The global community has committed to reaching net zero emission by 2050 under the Paris Agreement. Policymakers must therefore evaluate every available option, and nuclear energy sits at the center of that debate. Now let's discuss whether the argument against nuclear energy logically sounds or are they driven by fallacies. For the methodologies, our approach. So, before we get into the findings, let me quickly walk you through how we approach this. Our overall plan was to take the balanced, evidence-based stance. We didn't start by assuming nuclear power is good or bad. Instead, we asked, what do the argument actually look like when you examine them critically? We structure our analysis in two layers. First, we look at the counter arguments, the most common public arguments against nuclear energies, and test it whether they hold logically. Then we look at the in support arguments and ask how strong are these really and where can they be improved. For the our data source, for our data source, we drew from three main categories. First, scientific and insti- institutional reports, including data from the IAEA, the UN Scientific Committees on the Effects of Atomic Radiations, and the IPCCs. These give us reliable figures on safety, records emission, and waste volumes. Second, economics analysis, including projects report on Hinkley Point C's, the UAE's Paracas plant, and South Korea's ABR 1400 reactors, which gave us real-world cost comparisons. And third, public discourse articles, documentaries, and advocacy material from both pro and anti-nuclear groups. This is where we actually show the arguments we are analyzing. We pick these because if you are doing a critical thinking project, you need both hard numbers A and D. What people are actually saying out there, not just one or the other. For the procedures, for each argument we follow three steps. First, we standardize it into premise, conclusion from. Second, we identify any logical fallacy present. And third, we either refute it or strengthen it in using.
Now we move into the heart of our report, the findings. We will start with four major counter-arguments made against nuclear energies and show why each of them is logical flawed. So coming to the first counter-argument, nuclear energies is dangerous because on Chernobyl and Fukushima, you probably hear this one many times. Critics say Chernobyl happened, Fukushima happened, therefore nuclear energy is too dangerous. Let's break this down and in standardized form. The premise one, Chernobyl and Fukushima cause radiation release and mass displacement. Premise two, any energy source causing such disaster is too dangerous to use. Therefore, nucleic acids is too dangerous. So, what facility do we find here? The first one has the generation to accident out of over 18,000 reactor years of global operation are used to contain an entire technology. It's like saying to plane crash mean flying is always deadly. A second is appeal to fear. Emotional chain image of disaster zone are used to override specify reason.
When measured by days per unit of energy produced, nuclear energy is statistically one of the safest sources in the world at 0.03 days per terawatt hour compared to 24.6 for coal. Furthermore, the UN scientific committee estimated the direct death toll of Chernobyl at under 60 people. The narrative of mass death from nuclear disaster is statistically exaggerated. Modern generation 3 plus and 4 reactors use passive safety systems. They physically cannot suffer the same type of accidents as the old Soviet RM, RBMK reactor at Chernobyl.
Moving to the counter argument two, nuclear waste is an unsolvable problem. So it's saying nuclear flame produce reactive waste that lasts thousands of years and can never be safely stored. The premise one say nuclear waste have been harrowed for thousands of years. Premise two, there's no proven long-term storage solution, and the conclusion, therefore, nuclear energy create an intractable energy environmental problems. For the facility, we have two. The first one is for alternative. These assume only two options: store waste unsafety and abandon nuclear, ignoring technologically developed in waste reprocessing. And the second is appeal to ignorance because of perfect a solution haven't been universally developed yet, none exists, but absence of deployment is not absence of solution.
Refutation. The total volume of high-level nuclear waste produced globally over 60 years could fit within a football field to a depth of 10 meters. Compare this with the billions of tons of carbon dioxide we pump into the atmosphere every year. Finland is already constructing on Kalo, the world first permanent deep geologically repository for high-level nuclear waste. Sweden has a similar facility approved. Thi- This is a engineering problem, not an unsolvable one.
Next is the counter-argumentary. Nuclear power is too expensive. So it's saying, look at Hinkley Point C in the UK and the 40 plant in the US. Nuclear costs too much. The promised one say recent nuclear projects in Western countries face massive cost overruns, and the promise to say renewable are now cheaper to build. So conclusion, therefore, investing in nuclear energies is economically irrational. There's two facilities. The first one is slippery slope. High construction costs in some countries do not mean nuclear is unviable everywhere or always. And the second is cherry picking. Only the expensive Western examples are great, ignoring successful projects everywhere.
The refutation, the UAE Baraka plant, South Korea APR 1400, and China Hualong 1 reactors were all completed on schedule and within budget. High costs in Western countries reflect specific regulatory environments and the loss of industrial supply chains, not inherent technological limitations. When you factor in life cycle costs, it including reliability and the hidden cost of intermittency for renewables, nuclear energy to cost per megawatt is highly competitive.
On the fourth counter-argument examined is anti-nuclear argument relies on scar-tastic. Our fourth counter-argument examine a pattern we note across much the anti-nuclear discourse, the deliberate use of scar-tactics to bypass radiation debate. The promised one, nuclear disaster like Chernobyl caused radiation displacement and public panic. The promise to this disaster proof nuclear power will evitate, inevitably lead to catastrophic outcomes. The conclusion, therefore, we must abandon nuclear energies before another catastrophe occurs. There's three facilities on the top of each other appear to fear worst case scenarios are afflicted to trigger emotional rejection. The hasty generalization to exceptional accidents are triggered at representative of all nuclear operation and the appeal of emotion dramatic imagery substitute for evidence-based risk analysis.
The refutation, the non-proliferation treaty, and the IAEA safeguards regime provide international monitoring of civilian nuclear activities. Commercial reactors use low enriched uranium 3 to 5% U-200 in support Argument 1. Nuclear energy has the lowest life cycle carbon emission of any baseload source. Premise 1. Addressing climate change requires dramatically reducing carbon dioxide emissions from electricity generation. Premise 2. Nuclear energy produces only 4 to 6 grams of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour over its full life cycle, lower than solar, wind, and far lower than any fossil fuel. Conclusion. Therefore, nuclear energy is one of the most effective low carbon tools available for fighting climate change, strengthening the argument. And look, this isn't just one study saying the IPCC, the European Commission, multiple dependent teams all ran the numbers and got basically the same results. That's actually pretty rare in energy research. One weak point we take raise is uranium mining, which does reduce some emissions, but even accounting for mining, construction, and decommissioning, nuclear carbon footprint remains among the lowest of energy source. So this objection doesn't significantly weaken the conclusion. And in support argument two, nuclear energy provides reliable baseload power that complements renewables. Premise one, solar and wind energy are intermittent. They only generate electricity when the sun shines or wind blows, making grid stability a serious challenges. Premise 2. Nuclear power plants operate at a capacity factor of over 90%, running continuously regardless of weather conditions. Conclusions. Therefore, nuclear energy can serve as a stable backbone for grid that is increasingly powered by renewables. Strengthening the argument. This argument addresses a real and growing problem. There's a gap, usually in the evening when solar drops off, but people get home and start using electricity. Nuclear just keeps running. It doesn't care what time is it. Battery storage is often proposed as the alternative, but at current technology levels, large-scale grid storage is too expensive and limitation in duration. Nuclear fills this gap in a way that no other clean source currently can at scale. And just be clear, this isn't an argument against renewables. It's an argument that nuclear and renewable work better together than either does alone.
And the final part of our group presentation, so the conclusion, summary of counter arguments why these concerns are not entirely without merit. They have been consistent overstayed in public discourse, and each argument is undermined by empirical evidence, technologically progress, and international governance framework. Summaries in support arguments. On the other side, the two in support arguments, low carbon emission, clear reliability are built on solid empirical foundation and address real problem that the world is facing right now. Take together, they make a compelling case that nuclear energy is of serious consideration as part of the diverse clean energy strategies, not as only solution but as meaningful piece of the puzzle. Limitation, we want to transparent about limitation of our analysis. First, our data is mostly trained from global and Western context. This situation may look different for developing countries with different infrastructures, regulator capacity, and financial system. Second, the energy landscape is changing fast. Battery storage costs are falling rapidly, and new reactor design like small modular reactor are still unproven at scale. Our analysis reflects the current state of technologies, not recessivity, release what probably in 10 years. First, as a student group, we don't have access to classify or proprietary industry data. Our analysis is based on publicly available sources. Our opportunity so is nuclear energy is solution to our problems. However, our group doesn't think there's single solution to the world energy challenge. Energy policies are complex and different countries have different needs, resources, and contrasts. No energy source is perfect. Coal pollute, solar needs sun, wind need wind, and nuclear have its voice problem. The question is which one is flawless? Is which combination make the most sense? And based on what we found, nuclear serve the part of that combination. What we can say confidently is this: arguments against nuclear are often weaker than they appear, and the arguments in favor are often stronger than the booklet debate suggests. So closing our main takeaways it is good energy policy require good critical thinking. When we strip away the facility, more scarcity and the cherry pick data, the evidence strongly support giving nuclear energies a serious seat at the table in our nuclear clean energy future. Thank you for your attention.